Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Christian Therapist Podcast. Lindsay Castleman here, and as always, joined by my friend Aron Strong. Hey, Aron,
Hey, Lindsay.
here we
It's always
are.
so funny to begin. I know this joke will get tired, right? But we always like say hi like we haven't been talking to each other for like 30 minutes before this even started.
I know. Usually, before a podcast, we have a good hour, 30-minute
Yeah,
combo.
that's right.
Funny thing with it is, even just discussing, hey, is our topic locked in? Are we good to
Yeah.
go? But man, I was just telling
But
you before we jumped on, I was like, I have been outside all weekend. So if it
yeah,
sound a little stuffy, I am a little stuffy.
yeah.
It is blooming outside in Tennessee right now.
It is
Bloom.
that time of year. I love it because everything turns green, but then like everything's also yellow with the amount of pollen
Oh
that's
my
everywhere.
gosh, it was like palpable this
Yeah.
weekend, palpable. But anyways, I got it. I got it. But the other funny thing too, we're doing this series now, just the place of saying, hey, what's really happening with. And it's somebody that we see, kind of a presentation that
Yeah.
we see in our office. And today we're talking about the person who won't be held accountable, right? So it's what's really happening with the person who won't be held accountable. And just as you and I were talking before this, I was like, man, it feels like it goes hand in hand with people who just really also don't consider others. Like, I'm not going to be held accountable equals let's not consider others. And so then when we were changing our names on this, because for those of you who, for those listeners who are just podcasts and not on the YouTube channel, they can't see us,
Right. They don't see our pictures.
right. But those who do watch the YouTube channel of this do see us. So we always try to make sure our names are spelled correctly. And Aron, you listed me as you, which I thought was funny. I was like, Aron, I'm you today.
I
Um,
clicked the three blue buttons that says change your name. I'm like, yeah, change my name. Then I looked at my screen because I didn't have my self view up. I didn't have my self view up. So I just
yeah.
saw you. And then I saw my name. And I'm like, yes, that is my name at the bottom of the screen.
I know it was like, host just changed your name to Aaron. I was like, okay, Aaron. So then that's what I said. I said, okay, hey, you change your name, I'll change mine. And I was like, you do you, I'll do me.
And
What did you say to that,
and
Aaron?
I said that is the entire theme of this podcast, right? That's their
Yes,
motto. You do you, I do me, right? Let's not talk about how the twain come together.
right.
And so you take care of you, I'll take care of me. I don't need you to take care of me. I don't need you to hold me responsible.
No,
You go do you.
right. Don't look this way. It's that person that will not be held accountable. And, really, we'll kind of give you a little bit of like pull the veil back to show you behind the curtain that, man, I had just like, well, and honestly, for both of us, both you and I, we do supervise interns. And so we bring interns on to our group practice and we try to train them up. We want to get them prepared for this job. And we want for them to see this is a job. It
Right?
is a
Yeah.
job. This is
Yeah.
not just something where you sit and you help the person across from you just feel good about being with you, right?
Hmm.
It's not a job about you. It's about the person in front of us, which means we got to do a lot of inward looking. But then, even beyond that, we've got to keep up with ethical standards. We've got to keep up with um, just even continuing education credits. I mean, we have to keep up with insurance. We have to keep up with licensure renewal. We have to make sure we're doing appropriate notes. I mean, the list goes on, even down to in the office, we need to make sure we tidy up. Like,
Right?
it's like we have someone coming over to our house every day, right?
That's
So
right.
the
Yeah.
bathrooms and multiple people every
Yeah.
hour,
Right. That's
right?
right.
So we have got to take pride in how our space looks, what it's like when people come in, right? Is it inviting? Is the trash overflowing? Is it not? Do we have toilet paper? I mean, like, we got to cover the gamut because we're in charge, like, this is a job and we're in charge of the whole aesthetic and the whole experience, right? So we then hold interns to a high standard. And good Lord, I have had some interns where that was very, very difficult. Just
It's
very
so
difficult.
it's very difficult when you're trying to teach shared ownership.
Right.
Right? We're all in this together. Like we're I'm trying to help, my son, he's on the autism spectrum, but he's 20, right? And so he's like trying to help him in certain areas
Mhm.
and he's like, "Why do I have to do that?" I'm like, "Well, now you're a grown up and you're one of the three adults that live in the home.
Right.
So all the adults got to take care of the home we live in, right? Because you're not a child anymore. So welcome to adulthood. We're all doing chores, right?"
Yes.
And not that he didn't have chores before, but we're just
Right.
teaching this ownership sense of this is as an adult, this is your space. And
Hmm.
when you're trying to do that as a therapist in a practice and you're trying to teach shared ownership, there are people who don't want to feel it that way. I don't want shared ownership. I just want to do the thing I want to do.
Right.
And then you're making me do stuff I don't want to do because I don't want the shared ownership. And
Hmm.
they get really mad and then make some kind of claims or we're exploiting them for like child labor or something.
Oh my gosh. Well, and even just sitting back, the funny thing for me is going how thorough we are, whether it's in the contract or the interview, like here's all that's required.
Right.
And then when they show up to then do it, and to some degree, I do sit back and go, is there also a better preparation that the schools can do? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it can also, I think, just be a personality issue that's going, like you were saying, I just needed the job. So I'll say yes to whatever. I'll even sign the
Yes.
contract
That's
because
right.
that's going to benefit me. But then when I get into it, and now I am being held accountable, I am being sat down and talked to. My evaluation is not what I thought it would be because I'm not doing the thing. Or, oh, I also have to rearrange my schedule because I'm now doing a job on top of school. It
Hmm.
just, there just comes a place where you start to see, people's true colors come out and you go, oh my gosh. But then
Right.
we also, like, so the reason we're bringing up this topic is because, man, just went through a rigmarole with an intern who did not want to take any accountability. And we even had to talk to their school about
Yep.
them.
Yep.
And even in that, didn't want to take any accountability. And so there's just a sadness. And even at the end, when we said, hey, let's make sure we end well, didn't even want to come in and take any
Process it.
accountability or even
Yep.
meet to end well. Right. So
Hmm.
it just was so self, I don't know if it's self-preservation but just self-focused. Right.
Totally.
For sure. And we also have clients that come in that way, right? I mean, I remember
Well,
having, yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, just to
Yeah.
expand it from our before we move into a client space, just in personal
Right.
space. I have a friend of mine who's in a relationship, and it's almost kind of like an intern situation with someone they're in a relationship with, where,
Yeah.
they do everything they can to sign the contract kind of up front to secure the job, secure the relationship. But then
Hmm.
once you're in the relationship, then doesn't want to do anything or take any accountability for the work of the relationship,
Right.
right?
Because
I just want all the
relationships are work.
Yeah, I just want all the benefits of the relationship. I want got to be like in charge or responsible for all this stuff in this relationship. Like, why you gonna
Mhm.
why you gotta make it so hard? And I'm
Right.
like, well, because it is hard. I'm not making it hard. It is hard, right?
Right.
And so it's harder when you don't show up to be a part of it. That makes it harder when it's already hard. They're like, nah, I just want to do it easy for me, like whatever works for me, and when we get in these dynamics, whether it shows up in a work environment or it shows up in a relational environment, those people will become our client or people they're in relationship with, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not always someone who doesn't want to be held accountable rushes to therapy, right? That's not where
No.
they want to go.
No. No. They do not. They do not. Or they will begrudgingly go,
Begrudgingly, for sure.
you
When they're
know.
made to, when they have to, when the
Right.
threat's big enough to be like, fine, I'll go. I
Yeah.
will go and do nothing there too. You know,
Right. Right. I mean, I do even remember clients saying, man, here's just how I want this marriage to work.
Yeah,
And I'm going, whoa,
yeah,
don't we all?
right. It's the fantasy. It's the
Just the
idea.
place of like, I want all the alone time that I want. I'll enter in when I want to. I'll step up when I want to.
Yeah,
Like that's the places that I want to enter into. And I'm like, same.
same.
And that's just not how it works.
No, that's kind of like kingship, right? Not partnership. I
Yes.
just want to be the master of my domain. I want to step in where I want to and step out when I want to and issue the edicts that I expect
Mhm.
to be followed. And if you can't, then I will just, do whatever, whatever the presentation shows up as. And we're setting this whole thing up, right? Kind of like bad mouthing to some degree these individuals. Even though it's our job as a therapist to love our client. And
Sure.
so we've got to find the things in there to connect with, like, working with people you don't like is an online course we offer of how
Right,
to do
right,
that.
right, right.
But
But I will say though, honestly, Aaron, the reason it can be, it can seem like we're bad mouthing is because one, I am. But two, it does irk me so much. And I know it irks you too, if you don't mind me speaking for you in that way of like the way that you and I are wired, and we joke about this, is like we'll show up sick to do a podcast. Like
right.
we will show up. I mean, I even remember because it wasn't that far ago, we do our therapist member group, our faith and attachment member group, which I don't know if we've talked about that on here before, but
Oh,
it's just a
yeah.
side note. It's an awesome group. We love it.
Yeah. Mhm.
But just again, that passion of bringing faith and attachment together. And we actually get to see the therapists that join
Right.
it, which is fun because
Yeah.
on podcasts, we see each other, but with our faith and
Okay.
attachment member group, we get to see others, which is great. But anyways, we had our very first one, and you had some emergency come up that you had to go tend to. And then I was like, I think I had the flu. I mean, I can't remember. It was something not awesome. And I was like, Aaron, I'm sick today, and then I was like, Aaron, your first response was, okay, I'll get there and I'll take it over. Like I got it. And said to you later, I was like, Aaron, I was just giving you an FYI. Like, I didn't need you to take over for me. I'll do it like I do it sick. I'll do it whatever. So
Yeah.
we're almost like, you and I are almost the
Wired the other
whole,
extreme, like, other end.
right. It could be too far
Yeah. Yeah.
on the other
Right.
side,
Right.
where we might even need to come in a little bit and ask for more help or take some time off,
Right.
in that way. So just to kind of give that context is what you were saying is like when, because we're all human, when we sit down with people that are on such the far extreme, it can be hard to even
Yeah.
try to connect with what's really happening in them because it's
Right.
just like not an option in us,
Yeah.
you
That
know?
sense of responsibility that we innately carry.
Right.
And a responsibility that isn't just over ourselves and what we must make ourselves do, but that sense of care and responsibility that comes with the people that we lead, the staff that work for us, the interns or the supervisees that we have, the therapists we train, all the different things that we have, there, our families, there's just a sense of ownership and responsibility we carry, and
Hmm.
it's so innately and hardwired within us. When we have someone who really shows up in a contrary way that doesn't want to do any of that and will prioritize themselves, uh, it's offensive to us, right?
Right.
It's, in a true sense of not that we are, I don't think we tend to overuse that word in some ways in a way it's not designed, but there is a feeling of objection that rises that says,
Hmm.
I don't even have permission to do that. We joked the other day of like, man, I wonder, it must be really nice to can't. I wonder what that would be like
Yeah, to
if you
tell
just can't
somebody just
something. I
can't do
can't.
it.
Like it was like, I don't know. What? Like it's not even in my brain.
Right. Right. It's not at all. And even just within, I know for me, just my relationship with Jesus and even taking that scripture to heart of just the work that we do it as though we are working for the Lord. And
Mhm.
that even on a bigger perspective is that I'm like, man, what I do say yes to, I need to show up and do it as though I'm working for Jesus. Like that's
Yeah.
what I want to be doing. And so to your point, that is the place where, especially when people are believers and
Hmm.
they show up and they're like, I can't or I won't.
Right.
It just is like, oh my gosh. And again, I'm saying this in the context of you've already agreed to it.
Right. If you do the best you can and you fall short,
Right.
that's okay. Like we can
Yes.
work with that.
Right.
But to not even make an attempt to move into something that
Hmm.
there's a sense of responsibility inherent or agreed to within that regard, then that's such a weird thing sometimes, which is why we're
Hmm.
talking about it, because we've come up with some categories of folks that tend to struggle in this regard.
Hmm.
Um, and there's a reason why people do that. And so rather than it's easy to just be judgmental from the sidelines, but
Right.
what I
Right.
mean? Or as a therapist, you want to be like, well, you should just be more like me then, right? And
Hmm.
that's not what we're doing either. We have to
Right.
join the client where they're at and then bond with the objection or the stick points of where they're stuck and they can't move
Hmm.
and understanding what's happening with this thing. Like what's going on in
Hmm.
there that creates this presentation so we'd know even what to do about it.
Right.
That's why I like the series. We're like, what is going on with this thing? And we can kind of take a
What's
peek beneath the
happening
hood and
here?
see what's going on and what we do about
Well,
it.
yeah, and because sometimes we even need that within ourselves, like when someone feels so opposite of us.
Totally.
The I know for me, just kind of the pissed offness can come up and can start to blind first. Like I can feel it rise up first. But to have already started to go, okay, here's the presentation, here's what's happening. That for even for me can be stabilizing
Totally.
to help my anger move aside and to be able to go for like for good reason because there's
Yep.
something that has developed in me and again we could say overdeveloped to a degree that still needs to develop
That's right.
within them like it's underdeveloped, right? And so just wondering even what led to that.
Yeah. And when you have someone who can see those aspects within you in a non-threatening and caring way, it can really adapt how we see ourselves. I know recently my wife, I was feeling the burden of leadership and feeling this pressure and was feeling all this anxiety. And I was like, man, I don't know why I always adopt this posture. And my wife just said, well, that's because you grew up like this, and this is what happened in your childhood. And it was something that I'd always seen as something really positive, but she saw it from this lens of like, it totally gave you this burden.
Mm.
Right? Your mom says you get to start brand new, but it was like you had to go be by yourself and figure it all out all over again every time we moved. So this idea that she could even see into me and reframe something that I'd always adaptively put in this really super positive category because
Mhm.
it was helpful for me at the time to recognize the struggle inherent in that process,
Right.
which has left this effect in me was dramatic. I was like, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, I'd never even seen that in myself. And to have that perspective allowed me to have more grace for myself. And that's what we're doing for our clients is we have this opportunity to
Mhm.
see in them kind of the places they're stuck and frame it in such a compassionate and appropriate way. It creates this resonance that hopefully helps inspire or promote change.
Right, right. And I know you mentioned, Aaron, three categories. And so the three categories that we're looking with, right? If we go again, what's really happening in the
Yes.
person who won't be held accountable,
Hmm.
right? We've got three different categories. One, are they actually a true narcissist? Two, are they those that just tend towards selfishness or self-preservation?
Hmm.
Or three, they just really can't do it.
Right. Yep.
you
Those are
know?
the categories for sure.
So it's just sitting back and wondering almost in which category do they fit. Now, going back to the first one, true narcissist, I think, do we have an online course about working
Yep.
with narcissism? Okay, because I was
Yes,
like,
we
I
do.
don't know how much
Mhm.
we need to go into
Right, right.
that today, but we do have our online course. I think it's just like 25 bucks. I can't remember. Don't quote me, but you do get CEs for it. But if you want to expand, kind of expand that conversation, we can there. But going into are they a true narcissist? And you know, the place of narcissism is a buzzword, and everybody now is being diagnosed as a
Right.
narcissist. So
At
that's
least
why we
hopefully.
said, and you said true narcissist,
Yes, true
right? So talk a
narcissists.
little bit more about that, Aaron.
Well, true narcissists aren't going to be held accountable because they can't imagine they did anything wrong in the first place, right?
Hmm.
They just see everything they do from a very inflated and self-aggrandized lens. And so they just won't accept it because it's just untrue. And then they have
Hmm.
ways, even in their own mind, to kind of manipulate information or data to help them get to that place where they're right.
Hmm.
And sometimes they're aware of it and it's very intentional. And other times it just sneaks up on them because they're just so practiced at it, they do without even thinking about it. But the issue is really it's about what drives that and the underlying function we talk about in the course in more detail, but it's they just can't trust other people. Like it's an attachment injury, trauma response that I can't trust others with me. And
Hmm.
so then I choose me as a source of what's good, because typically true narcissists are actually very competent at things.
Yeah.
They actually have something that shows evidence that they cling to promote their sense of self-value and engagement. And so they tend to have a very high skill in a particular area, and that's what validates their sense of self. But ultimately, they can't trust others with themselves, and so trying to hold them accountable is you're just not trustworthy, right? Even if
Hmm.
you say, but it's my perspective, they're like, well, that's your perspective. That's not my perspective. That's not how I
Hmm.
see it. And they may even be magnanimous in granting you oh, you are free to have your perspective. It's just that I will never agree to it. And
Hmm.
so it kind of leaves you no place to go because they're not going to participate. They just
Right.
when they won't see it the way you saw it. Like, I'm sorry, and they may like, I'm sorry you felt that way. I'm sorry that you experienced that. I'm sorry that's how you took it. That's not me. That's not what I do. And so I will take no
Hmm.
responsibility, even for how I what I did affected you. I have no responsibility there because I can't control how you interpret things.
Right. Right. Well, and what is that? The phrase that I do hear a lot, and it's becoming a lot more on the scene. It's that Darvo, like the defend, attack, reverse, victim, offender.
Oh
Have you
wow.
heard of that before? But
No.
it's they a lot of times they pair it with narcissism.
Mm,
But it's like if you start to communicate with a narcissist, you will get some sort of defense or attack, or they will reverse and they will become the victim and you will become the offender.
yeah, yeah.
And so, and, I mean, it's hard because I'm very hesitant to say, man, anytime someone does that, they're a narcissist,
Correct.
because
No,
that
no,
is not
no.
true.
No, that's
It's
not true.
not true. And to some degree, there are times where even if you are speaking with a narcissist, you might have to do that yourself. You might have to defend, not
Yep.
attack, but like you will have to protect yourself in some way. Or if you are, because I've had clients who their spouse has said things to them like, no, you're this one, you're this. And you go, oh, actually, I'm not, right? They could then say, well, you're now
Yep.
reversing it. So
Yep.
hesitant to put that on. But to the point of that is going there, you will rarely find that a narcissist will actually go back to accountability. Like they're not going to look to see how their actions affected you. There will
Yep.
always be some sort of reason as to
Yep.
why what they did is okay.
And that's because it's unsafe,
Yes.
right? It's an unsafe place to be.
Right.
People who are truly that confident, who are truly that self-assured, don't get offended by people who want to hold them accountable.
Hmm.
They like, all right, well, we can talk about it, like because they're fine, right? They are
Hmm.
fine. And so the response, the big response, helps you understand that there's an injury in there somewhere because there's a very strong nervous system organizational response to protect the injury.
Hmm.
And so whether it's defend or attack, like that is a protective response. Reverse, well, that's you, that's not me, an adaptive response that
Hmm.
protects vulnerability. All of those things are protective to something that is so well hidden.
Hmm.
They'll never let you see it, and they present in a way that convinces you that even they believe it doesn't exist. And they, through confirmation bias, they may even convince themselves it's true. But the
Hmm.
biggest evidence is the fact is that they're responding so big about it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Well, why is it so big then?
Right.
Right? Why is it such like why it shouldn't be that big if it's doesn't matter, right?
Yes. 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 Well, and in that, as we move to the next one, which is just more of a tend towards selfishness, that's where you are going to find maybe a little bit more energy in the uh not wanting to be held accountable, right? Kind
Yeah.
of like what you're talking about with a narcissist, going to be a little more steady, right? They're a little more self-assured.
Hmm.
But those that tend towards selfishness, towards self-preservation, being held accountable is now threatening the very like house of cards that they have built. And they're, whether consciously or subconsciously, aware that it's that fragile. Something in
That's
them
right.
is aware that it's
That's right.
that fragile, which is
Yep.
why the reactions can be so big.
Yep. That's why they're
Right.
so people show you the ways they've been wounded by the weird and inappropriate ways they respond to things. You know what I mean? You're like, all
Right.
right, well, apparently there's a problem there. Like, there's no problem. Like, well, it's too loud to say there's not a problem.
Right. Right. And I clearly see a problem.
Yeah, there's a problem. I mean, you don't have to admit it, but it is there, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
Emperor's New Clothes.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
And this place of self-preservation, it can be very hard to maneuver around.
Mm.
The thing with it though is to sit back and to listen for the fear that is underneath,
Yes.
right? It's like
Hmm.
what would fall if this was actually to be true? If we
Yep.
were to say, yes, I did this,
Yep.
like what would fall?
And it's different to think of clients' reactive intensity as assessment,
Hmm.
right? If this one produces very little intensity as a response, and this antecedent produces this level of response, well, the bigger one's probably closer to something important.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they attacked, because we look at the presentation as the problem because our nervous system wants to react to the presentation. Our
Hmm.
nervous system says, hey, that's too big, that's very scary, that's not right. I get offended, right? And then I'm in my own state rather than a clinical perspective where everything's assessment. And I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, well, that's an interesting response to this statement. It was a really big response that orients me like where deeper work probably lies and what the barriers will be to get there because they're showing me in the
Yeah.
ways that they respond at the moment.
Right. And there is, for me, it feels like there is an underneath of building. It's like building your house upon sand,
Hmm.
right? Like building your identity just upon some kind of smoke screen,
Sure.
right? Some kind of, whether it is, I am successful, I am a good spouse, I am a great parent, I am a great Christian.
Right.
I am prized in this field that I have put all my time, effort,
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, my kiddo is we're in Nashville where everybody's playing some kind of travel something. And I sit back and it's funny because people are like, "Oh, your kid, my kid's pretty good at soccer." And like, "Oh, does he play travel ball?" I'm like, "We're not a travel family. We're not a travel family." And I'm not knocking on those who are travel families. It's just for me and for
Sure.
our family, just sat back and goes, "Man, I need my kid to know how to be bored. I need him to know how to just like do chores at home. I need him to know how to be home for a weekend. Like I need him to be able to have friends that he can just run in the neighborhood with. Like
Yeah.
there's different, but I also don't want him to be known for just one thing. I
Yeah.
want him to be known for who he is and known by Christ. But anyways, so you see those where it's like, oh my gosh, I put my whole entire life into this one
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And
And
everything
yeah.
has a function. There's a reason why that's there. If you
Hmm.
have a client that has put all of their identity into an aspect of who they are,
Hmm.
it's probably adaptive. It's there
Yes.
for a reason.
Mhm.
And you can't just
Completely.
go strip it out. If you go strip it out without knowing what it's protecting, you
Hmm.
may strip away the one thing holding them together,
Right.
right? You have to understand, like, why is this one thing, this has to be the pillar that holds the house up. Well, I
Hmm.
can't just go rip the pillar out. I got to go figure out what's going on with the rest of the house that has made this pillar so important. We've got to
Right.
go build other pillars in this house to reduce the need of this one to hold it all up. We just can't
Hmm.
go rip it out. I know we're getting a little bit
Yeah.
into kind of what to do about it,
Right.
which I think we wanted to save for later.
Yes, yes, we will. So, just to get us up to speed, right? What's really happening in the people who won't be held accountable? One, they could be true narcissists, right? So,
Could
we
be.
got the block there. Two, they could tend towards selfishness and self-preservation, which is this house of cards that they cannot let fall,
Yeah.
right? That's number two. And then the third one is they just can't do it,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I just real quickly for the second one, the
Yeah.
selfish one, because we kind of blended together the narcissist and the
Oh,
selfish
yeah,
part.
yeah, yeah.
Right. But the second category is they're just probably human. Because
Right. Right.
there's times we all do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to. And
Correct.
so I just say, no, I'm not going to do that one. Right.
Mhm.
And that sense of comfort, a sense of needing something to be easy, the difficulty of pushing into one more hard thing.
Right.
Um, Sometimes it's not, and you have to assess, right? Is this sense of not being held accountable pervasive or is it situational?
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
Is it a presentation that shows up in everything they do? They won't take accountability for anything they do. Or do you see it in these very particular pockets that have defined parameters that in this condition, when they experience these sequence of things in a row and they hit this level, they've hit their max and they're like, nope, and then they just can't move or they're going to pick themselves or something, right? So
Right.
that middle one is a lot of squishy ground, and we'll talk more about that when we talk about how to work with it. But
Hmm.
assessment's really important of like how pervasive is this lack of accountability and how situational does it become.
Right.
But that last one you mentioned is just when there is so much internal shame about and narrative about how broken they are,
Hmm.
then any accountability reminds them that they are likely the reason everything in their life is broken.
Hmm.
And that's too hard to bear.
Right.
And so they instinctively move away from the thing that exposes the greatest wound that they have. And if it really is them, they won't be able to fix it anyway. So
Hmm.
there's no positive outcome to accountability. It's just judgment. And it just reminds you that you're a terrible person, or it reminds you how much of
Hmm.
a failure you are. It just reminds you how you never get it right. And why would I
Hmm.
want to do that again? When, okay, I'm bad. Can we move on now?
Yeah.
Um, and then because nothing's going to change because I can't change. Nothing's ever changed. It's always my fault. So what's even the point of engaging this conversation? It doesn't matter.
Right. And it looks very different than the first two, right?
Very
The
different.
response to accountability looks very different. It's instead of kind of coming at, to some degree, it feels like just kind of falling over and floating away, right?
However, if you put enough pressure on it, it'll do the Darvo,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Because the closer you push to that vulnerability, the bigger
Hmm.
reaction you're going to get of protection.
Right, because it's saying, stay away from this. I need
Right.
space. I
Yeah.
can't feel this. It's too much.
Intolerable.
Right. And I do think, not in the reaction part, but more in when we sit with people who they know, right? Like something happened within their relationship, or someone is showing up to say, hey, this happened. They move in that way to more making it about them. The others are making it about them as well, but the making it about them is is a little bit more, maybe it's more overt. I don't know. You might have to help me find the right word, but I will see people go, yeah, like just that place of I am the worst. Nothing that I do
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
gets it
The
right,
narcissist,
or yeah,
the narcissist, the closer you pull it, you push in, the bigger they're going to get,
yeah.
right? On the other spectrum, these folks that are covered in shame, the closer you push, at some point, the more likely that it'll all crumble,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
It'll get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it will eventually like collapse into helplessness. It'll
Yes. Yeah.
crumble into like this broken piece, and then we will still interpret that as they're making it about them because now they're just crying about what a terrible
Hmm.
person they are when we're just trying to say
Right.
like just say what you did hurt me. That's all I need you to do. And now you're making it all this giant like trauma history. You're trauma dumping on me because I
Hmm.
just tried to hold you accountable. And so it looks like histrionics, but
Right.
oftentimes that's actually what's living in there and why they couldn't engage in the first place. And then we dismiss even that, which just reinforces the whole thing. And it can go sideways. But
Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
narcissist is not going to crumble into a ball and cry and be like, yep,
No.
I'm first. That's never going to happen.
No.
But these folks, like those wounds that they carry are so big, they're so intolerable, and no one's ever been with them
Right.
safely in accountability. There's no history of true compassion and care in accountability of how to do both, that everything in their nervous system says this will be death.
Right. Right. And you can feel the cycle move because to some degree what's happening is you are trying to bring the pain of what happened or the reality of what is
Yes.
to the table, and in hopes that they will show up and share, either share in that pain, right? Some shared suffering to kind of help ease the pain, and or they will share in the responsibility that they already, ooh, I gotta cough, but share in the responsibility that they already agreed to, whether
Right.
they agreed to it because they're now parents, or
Right.
because they got married and they're now in a covenant, or they said, let's be boyfriend, girlfriend, or
Yep.
let's do this job, let's do that job, right? Like they have agreed to it, or even like you were saying with your son, it's now bestowed upon because we're now adults. Right. And so, and then even as we continue on, just we within our own Christian faith, there is a lot of inward looking that the Lord wants for us to do, right? Because he doesn't want anything in us to block us
Hmm.
from relationship with him. I mean, he's pretty serious about that,
Right.
right? Whether it's bigger picture, he made away with Jesus, and even just internally with the Holy Spirit going, now I've got someone that's going to, if you allow, let you look at these places not alone, but with me.
Yep.
So there's nothing blocking, right? So we're coming and we're saying, hey, let's look together. Let's see together, whether it's shared suffering, whether it's the responsibilities, whether it's pain inside of it. Like, let's look. And then what happens with these three categories is that that pain never gets looked at.
Right.
Instead, it's like heaped on top. It's almost like we're now looking at and talking about something totally different,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
thing doesn't actually get addressed, it doesn't actually get looked at.
Right.
Um, and in their mind, they're not going to look at it, right?
No. Yep.
So
And I think from a
hopefully, oh yeah, go ahead.
go ahead. No, I'll just say, like, as you'd
Mhm.
mentioned, faith in that regard.
Mhm.
I think that's one of the things that makes, if it sounds weird, but God so impressive is that
Yeah.
that if anyone has the right to take a posture of power and authority,
Hmm.
he does. And his first preference is always to enter in softly,
Right.
right? He's not fragile in our complaints to him, but he definitely wants to show up and hold us accountable by revealing himself to us and helping us know that our value is not based on just the good things we do. It's
Hmm.
based on his love for us. And that's what makes his discipline and his accountability safe, is because he's for us, not against us.
Hmm.
But in our human relationships, we often don't experience that sense of someone who's truly for me in their hurt by me or in their anger at me.
Hmm.
They've stopped being for me. And then when that happens, then I'm going to choose myself. I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to move away from anything that could harm me where I'm not welcome, where that vulnerability isn't safe,
Hmm.
affects how people show up. And so those are the big kind of like uh, precursors to the ways that we engage and work with
Hmm.
clients in this regard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for that, Aaron. And just again, that reminder, right? We've got the three different categories just for people to think through. The narcissist, the true narcissist,
True
right?
narcissist.
We've got the one that's more about self-preservation, selfishness, and then just the one who can't. There's more of a collapse, that could happen, or they
Mhm.
can get to the place where they need to really push away for space because that pain is just so intolerable. And
Yeah,
all three undercurrent have pain that they're carrying,
that's right.
and no one has taught them, and maybe they have also not been open to learning a new way of carrying that pain, right?
Yep,
Or allowing someone else to be with them in that pain, or even themselves to be in that pain. And so, what we're going to do in our next episode is talk a little bit more of how do we work with those three different presentations as they come into our office.
that's right. It'll be good.
Let's do it. All right.
All
Well,
right.
thank you, Aaron.
You got it. See you in the
See
next
ya.
round.